Women who are survivors of Epstein's are unhappy with those redactions that came out. Some of them, entire witness interviews are totally blacked out. Do you think that they should be more transparent?
With the fact that they thought they released too much. I heard that, and you tell me something else. No, I think it's really time for the country to get onto something else. Really, now that nothing came out about me, other than it was a conspiracy against me, literally by Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
What would you say to people who feel like they haven't gotten justice, Mr. President?
Something that people care about. Yeah, what did you say? Go ahead.
What would you say to the survivors who feel like they haven't gotten
You are the
justice?
worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. She's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile in your face. You know why? You know why you're not smiling? Because you're not telling the truth, and you're a very dishonest organization, and they should be ashamed of you.
Welcome to Dr. John Podcast. So what just happened right now? We are inside that moment. The President of the United States is at Mar-a-Lago, and he has completely lost control. Not politically, not strategically. I mean, he has lost his grip on reality itself. The man who spent years deflecting, attacking, surviving everything thrown at him is now watching his entire world evaporate in real time, and he is screaming into the void.
You know you've lost in 2026 when Republicans in the United States House of Representatives are openly talking about impeaching the President of the United States if he invades Greenland, as one was quoted today in the press. So let us be clear. Mr. President, Greenland is not for sale. Greenland is not for war. Greenland is not to be invaded. Greenland is for the Greenlandic people and our NATO allies, and we in the House of Representatives stand with our allies. So you have been duly warned, Mr. President. The American people want the Epstein files, not Greenland. And if you violate the law and one of our longest standing allyships on the planet, there will be consequences. It is long overdue.
Hoping someone, anyone, will hear him. 39 Republican senators. Let that number sink in for a moment. These aren't the usual critics. These aren't the never-Trumpers who have been trying to push him out since day one. These are the people who stood beside him, who voted with him, who defended him through 2 impeachments, through investigations, through scandal after scandal. And today, they walked to microphones in front of the entire nation and said the words that nobody thought would ever be spoken aloud, resign or removal. They said he is unfit to command. Those were the exact words, out loud, on camera, with their names attached. And Trump is watching it happen. He's sitting in Florida, probably in that gilded dining room, staring at television screens, watching his own party turn on him like a pack of wolves. And something inside him just breaks. What follows is 4 hours of pure, unfiltered madness. He grabs his phone, opens Truth Social, and begins typing, and he doesn't stop. For 4 straight hours, post after post after post, a nonstop torrent of rage pouring out of him. Over 180 messages in 240 minutes, almost one every 60 seconds. All caps, no punctuation, just raw fury. They perjured themselves. I will arrest them all. Traitors, every single one of them. The servers actually start crashing because so many people are logging on to watch a president melt down in real time. It's like watching someone set fire to their own house while standing inside it. But here's what Trump doesn't understand yet. Here's what his rage is blinding him to. The rants aren't working anymore. The accusations aren't moving the needle. The threats aren't scaring anyone. Because this time is different. This time the military is involved. This time the courts have moved. This time there is no legal trick, no executive order, no way to blame the media or the deep state or anyone else for what's happening. The walls have closed in and there's no door. The Joint Chiefs have essentially seized control of war powers. Think about what that means. The highest military officers in the country looked at the commander-in-chief and said, "We cannot follow your orders. They are unlawful. They are unconstitutional. We will not obey." That's not a scandal. That's not a controversy. That's a fundamental breakdown of the constitutional order. And it happened because Trump was ordering military strikes on Iran that the Pentagon determined violated international law, violated the War Powers Act, violated every protocol and procedure the military is sworn to uphold. So the military did did something unprecedented. They took control. They said, we'll handle this now. We'll make the decisions about military operations from here. That's never happened in American history. Not during Vietnam, not during Watergate, not during any crisis this country has ever faced. But it happened now because the situation was that serious. Meanwhile, a federal judge named Howell has signed an arrest warrant, not a civil complaint, not a subpoena, an actual arrest warrant based on federal criminal charges, witness tampering, perjury, connected to the Epstein files that have been slowly leaking out for months. The judge determined there was probable cause to believe Trump committed these crimes. A federal judge looked at the evidence and said, yes, this man broke the law. Yes, he should be arrested. That's not a low bar. That's not political gamesmanship. That's the judicial branch telling the executive branch that the president is a criminal. And that's when the dominoes started falling. The senators didn't move until they saw the military move. They didn't speak until they saw the court ruling. But once those pieces were in place, once it became clear that Trump was facing consequences he couldn't escape, they made their decision. Ed Markey, a senator from Massachusetts, started making calls. He reached out to colleagues, Republican colleagues, and asked a simple question. Are you seeing what we're seeing? Are you ready to do what needs to be done? He found 39 of them willing to say yes. 39 Republicans. Not the moderates, not the ones who've been trying to distance themselves from Trump for years. These are Trump-friendly senators, people who supported him, who voted with him, who defended him against impeachment, who stood by him through everything. And they all looked at the evidence. They saw the military refusing to follow orders. They saw a federal judge issuing an arrest warrant. They saw the Epstein files becoming public. They saw Trump posting like a maniac, threatening to arrest senators, ranting about traitors, losing his mind in front of the entire country. And they said, we're done. Thomas Massie was the first to say it publicly. He stood at a press conference and said the words that broke the dam. Resign or removal. He's unfit to command. And once he said it, once he was willing to be the first, everyone else could follow. They didn't have to be the hero. They didn't have to be the one senator who broke with Trump. They could just be one of 39. They could just be part of the group that made the right call. And that's exactly what happened. Now, while all of this is unfolding, while the senators are standing in front of cameras, while the public is learning that nearly 40 Republicans want the president removed, Trump is at Mar-a-Lago losing his mind in a way that's genuinely disturbing to watch. The Truth Social rant continues for 4 hours, 189 posts. He's accusing senators of perjury. He's threatening to have them arrested. He's calling them traitors to the Constitution. He's claiming a deep state coup is happening, over and over and over again. The same accusations, the same threats, the same rage. And the servers are crashing. Tens of thousands of people are logging on just to watch. It becomes this surreal moment where the entire country is essentially watching a president have a complete psychological breakdown on social media. And for the senators who are still on the fence, for the Republicans who haven't yet decided what to do, watching that seals it. This isn't a man who's strategizing. This isn't a man who's fighting back. This is a man who's collapsed. He's panicking. He's unstable. He's not fit to lead. So the thing Trump thought would save him, the thing he thought would rally his base, would intimidate his enemies, would prove he's still fighting, actually accelerates his downfall. It shows everyone watching that he's lost control. It shows them that he can't handle the pressure. It shows them that the man holding the nuclear codes is having a meltdown on social media while the military is refusing to follow his orders. Meanwhile, Speaker McCall is moving on the 25th Amendment. This is the constitutional mechanism that allows for the removal of a president who is unfit to serve. There's a faster version too, the one where the vice president and a majority of the cabinet can simply declare the president unfit and remove him immediately. No Senate vote, no delay, just immediate removal. And that paperwork is being filed right now. The cabinet is being assembled. And Mike Vance, the vice president, is being prepared to be sworn in. Not in a week, not in a month. That same night. The same night all of this is going down, Vance becomes the next president of the United States. Let's break down what actually happened here, because the details matter. The military situation first. Trump was ordering strikes on Iran that the Pentagon determined were not lawful. We're not talking about a disagreement over strategy. We're talking about orders that would have violated international law, the War Powers Act, and military protocol. The Joint Chiefs, the highest-ranking officers in the country, looked at those orders and said, "We can't do this. We won't do this." When the military refuses to follow a presidential order because they believe it's illegal, you're not in a political crisis anymore. You're in a constitutional crisis. So the military did something no one expected. They seized control of war powers. They said, We're making the decisions about military operations now. That has never happened in American history. Not once. Now the legal side. Judge Howell signed an arrest warrant for the President of the United States. Let's be clear about what that means. A federal judge determined there was probable cause to believe Trump committed witness tampering and perjury in connection with the Epstein files. Those are federal crimes. They carry prison sentences. The judge didn't issue a warning. She didn't issue a request. She issued an arrest warrant. That's the judicial branch telling the executive branch that its leader is a criminal and should be treated like one. And then there's the Senate, 39 Republicans, not the ones who've been trying to get rid of Trump for years. These are the ones who worked with him, who supported him, who voted with him on everything. They looked at the military refusing to follow orders. They looked at a federal judge issuing an arrest warrant. They looked at the Epstein files becoming public. They looked at Trump losing his mind on social media, and they said, "We're done." When 39 members of your own party publicly call for your removal, it's over. There's no comeback. There's no political fight you can win. It's done. And the 25th Amendment is the final piece. The constitutional ejector seat, the cabinet, and the vice president are using it right now. They're filing the paperwork. They're declaring the president unfit. And Mike Vance is being sworn in. The transfer of power happens that night. Not tomorrow, not after a transition. That night. So what happens now? What does this actually mean? First, Trump's legal jeopardy is real now. He's not the president anymore. He doesn't have immunity. Once Vance takes over, once Trump is out of office, the criminal trials that have been pending can move forward. Federal charges for witness tampering and perjury. Possible charges related to the Iran situation, the unlawful military orders. Without the shield of the presidency, without that protection, Trump is vulnerable in ways he's never been before. Second, the Republican Party is shattered. When 39 of your senators vote to remove your own president, you don't have a party anymore. You have a group of people who happen to share a letter next to their names. The MAGA movement, the thing that's defined Republican politics for the last decade, implodes. It fractures into pieces. Some will follow Vance, some will try to hold on to Trump's legacy, some will try to build something new. But the old Trump Republican Party, it's finished. Third, the military just set a precedent. They stepped in when they believed the commander-in-chief was acting illegally. Was it necessary? Probably. But it also means that the military has now taken control of war powers, and that's not something you just undo. It raises serious questions about civilian control of the military, about the balance of power, about what happens next time a president tests those boundaries. Fourth, the system actually worked. It was chaotic. It was unprecedented. It was terrifying to watch. But the Constitutional mechanisms existed, and they were used. The Senate pressured the president. The courts issued rulings. The military stepped in when necessary. The 25th Amendment was invoked. A lot of people thought that if Trump ever faced a real constitutional crisis, the system would just collapse, that he would stay in power by force, by threatening violence, by refusing to leave. But that didn't happen. He's out. It's done. The system held. Now, what comes next? That's the open question. What happens to the MAGA movement? What happens to the millions of Trump supporters watching this unfold? What happens to the Republican Party now? What happens to the military when they have to hand back control to a civilian president? What happens to Trump when the handcuffs finally go on? These are all questions that will be answered in the coming days and weeks. But what we know right now, what's certain, is that the moment where Trump had power is over. The moment where he could order military strikes and the military would obey is gone. The moment where he could use the presidency to escape legal consequences is gone. Judge Howell is waiting. The courts are waiting. The prosecutors are waiting. And unless Vance does something completely unthinkable, unless he immediately pardons the man he just replaced, which seems politically impossible, Trump is facing actual consequences. For years, people wondered what would happen if Trump faced a real constitutional crisis. What would actually stop him? Would anything actually stop him? The answer turned out to be yes. Something did. The military, the courts, his own party. All of it came together at once, and it was enough. So that's where we are. That's the situation unfolding right now. Trump is out. Vance is in. The military has seized control of war powers. The courts are ready to prosecute. The Republican Party is fractured. The MAGA movement that defined politics for the last decade has evaporated. This is the end of an era. It's historic. It's unprecedented. It's the moment that everyone said could never happen, happening right now. And here's the thing that matters most. The system held. It was ugly. It was chaotic. It came closer to breaking than it ever has before. But when the moment came, when it was time to decide whether the Constitution still meant anything, the answer was yes. The president is not above the law. The military does not obey unlawful orders. The courts do not look away when crimes are committed. And when 39 senators from your own party stand up and say you're unfit to command, there's no way to spin that, no way to fight that, no way to survive that. Trump screamed into the void. He posted his rage for 4 straight hours. He threatened, he accused, he raged, and none of it mattered because the void doesn't care about your anger. The law doesn't care about your title. The Constitution doesn't care about your feelings. It applies to everyone, even the president, especially the president. And that's the story. That's what happened. That's what's still happening right now. The building collapsed. The steel groaned. The cracks spread. And in the end, the only thing left standing was the system that everyone said would break. It didn't break. It bent. It buckled. It came closer to snapping than it ever has. But it held. And Trump lost.